Hello again, watch friends. Welcome back. Everyone has their own method or style for how they buy a watch. Some people walk into a jewelry store or authorized watch dealer and see something pretty and just buy it, whether it's a $300 Seiko or an $8,000 Rolex. Other people go to the department store and see something nice. They usually end up buying what we watch collectors call a fashion watch. And still others painstakingly do research by poring over watch catalogs or visiting countless online sites. Or they visit authorized dealers repeatedly, whether the same ones or different ones. Research has shown that the more options that there are for any product, cars, appliances, or even watches, the more difficult the choice. I think this latter category of watch buyer often makes things more difficult for themselves. Maybe they are the type of people that have trouble ordering from a menu at a restaurant, or perhaps need to be the last one to order so they can collect all the facts before they make a decision. I don't know. Anyway, I have a 6-step process that I normally use when I am buying a watch. I'd like to share it with you now. My first step is always research. I keep an eye out for interesting watches. I read reviews, blogs, brand announcements, etc. because, well, I'm interested. Sometimes a particular watch seems appealing. If so, I zero in on the brand and that watch in particular. I then scour the web for information on it. I try to read as many reviews as I can to gain multiple opinions and hopefully some convergence on the quality, value, and features of the piece. I also ask around, checking in with watch friends to see if they own the watch or know someone who does. I want to get their input, since if a respected watch friend has it, I can gain valuable information from them as well. The initial facts I like to get are size, diameter, thickness, and the all-important lug-to-lug length. The movement, standard, in-house, vintage, historical, etc. Price, of course, and what are the similar pieces from other brands that may compete with this particular watch, and how do they compare? On more than one occasion, I've been interested in a particular piece, but when I learned more about it, it no longer was on the potential list. So it goes. The next step is to see the watch in person and actually fondle it. If after doing my initial research I'm still interested, I like to see it in the metal, as it were. Not only is this fun, but it provides significant information. For example, does it wear large or small on the wrist? What color is the dial under different lighting? I often ask the AD if I can take the watch outside, with them of course, to view it in daylight. That's helpful. I ask a lot of questions. Unfortunately, I often know more about the particular watch than the salesperson does. I'm sure you've had that experience. It's good to check out the quality of the finishing and how the strap or bracelet feels on my wrist. Will it even fit? Naturally, you can't always see the watch in person, since it may only be available online. In this instance, it's all the more important to do your due diligence. By the way, don't be afraid to check out expensive or luxury watches at an AD. Remember, the salesperson's job is to sell watches, and they have no idea whether you have $50 in the bank or $1 million in the bank. Just make sure that you look presentable. In other words, don't wear dirty jeans and a tank top, and be polite. Say please, say thank you. Ask if you can wind the watch. Ask if you can put it on your wrist. Being polite goes a long way to checking out watches at an authorized dealer. And don't forget, be sure to ask for a catalog. They're free, and the salesperson will be more than happy to give you one. So I've determined that I want the watch and I want to buy it. So I have to figure out what's the best place to buy it. Often, the authorized dealer is not the best place to buy the watch. Depending on the brand, you can get maybe 10% to 30% off list. You'd be lucky to get 10% off Rolex watches, if that. I routinely can get 20% off Grand Seiko pieces, and I've been told by one AD I frequent that I could get 30% off Omega watches. Of course, special or limited editions will rarely be discounted, and new models, like ones announced earlier in the year, may not get discounted until the second year of production or later. So you also need to consider buying the watch online. As previously mentioned, some watches can only be bought online. For example, German watches like Junghans can only be bought from Watchbuys, an online importer retailer. In Europe, one can purchase a Junghans from many ADs. So buying online doesn't necessarily mean risky. It can be, but there are legitimate sources from which to buy. Buying from a gray market online seller is another option. I've done this many times with good success. Gray market items are simply products sold through non-standard channels. With watches, a brand may want to clear out old stock, or a jewelry store might need to raise some cash, so they sell their brand new watches to a gray market seller. The seller offers them at a very good price, but usually without the brand's official warranty. However, it might come with the seller's own warranty. Probably the most risky place to buy a watch is from eBay. You can get some bargains, but you can also get fleeced. I rarely use this method, but when I do, I ensure that eBay allows me to return the watch to the seller for a refund, and without a restocking fee. Usually return shipping is on me. That's a small price to pay for ease of mind. Now that you've researched the watch thoroughly, decided where to buy it, then it's time to buy it. I like to use a credit card when I buy a watch, if I can, so that if there are any issues, the credit card company will back me up. I actually did a video on this, and I'll put a link to that video above. Now, it goes without saying you shouldn't be buying watches and charging them on your credit card if you can't afford to pay for them. Carrying a balance on your credit card because you couldn't pay it off when the bill came is a terrible idea. Just terrible. You will get killed with interest fees and interest fees on top of interest fees. Just don't do it. There you go. Now you know. One more thing on buying. Try to be absolutely sure you want that watch before you buy it. Be patient. Think about it. You don't want to change your mind a few months down the road and try to sell it. Flipping watches is a losing proposition. I know from personal experience. So I have my new watch. Great. I always wear it straight for at least a week, partly as a break-in period for the movement. I collect mostly mechanical watches, and partly because, well, it's new and I'm excited. Also, I often learn things, unexpected or surprising things, by wearing a watch. Occasionally, I'm pleasantly surprised, such as when I discovered that my Reserve de Marche dial on the back of my H. Moser Endeavor Small Seconds had a blued hand. Nice. Of course, there were other surprises. One example is that my Rolex Explorer crystal would get a little cloudy on the outside over the course of wearing it all day. Not a big deal, but surprising. Other potential surprises that await may be that, for example, the bracelet pinches your skin or pulls wrist hair. Ouch. Or, on the positive side, that the watch has much better lume than you expected. So get the watch, wear it, and maybe even jot down some notes to yourself about your experiences for later reference. Whether you do it in a pocket notebook or on a spreadsheet or on stone tablets, it's useful to have a record of each watch in your collection. When and where you bought it, specs, your expectations of it, first impressions, and the rest of it. I do it, and it's part of the fun of this hobby. I like to share my enthusiasm and excitement about watches with others. That's why I have a YouTube channel. Over the last year or so, I've learned a lot about making videos and presenting them on my channel. So in addition to learning so much about horology and the watch collecting hobby, remember, you learn best when you teach others, I've also had to learn better photography and videography techniques, video editing, etc. I think of this as an unintended benefit. I'm now a competent video creator and have actually used this skill in my work. So I do watch review videos, comparisons, think pieces, and the like. Sometimes I'll do the video right away, such as when I picked up my JLC Master Control sector dial last summer. It was announced in early 2017 and was not readily available, so I thought I'd do a first look so others could learn about it and see if maybe they'd want one themselves. Other times, I wait for a while. I got a beautiful FP Journe chronometer Souverain boutique with a black dial and gold case a few months ago. I've yet to do a video because I need to do some more research on the brand and Mr. Journe. There's no hurry, so I can take my time and do a quality job. If you don't have a YouTube channel, which I think most of you don't, you can always share your watch on social media. There are plenty of opportunities to do just that. I recently did a video on that topic. Check it out for some hints and ideas. I've come up with this process over the years because early on, I was guilty of the often made mistake of the new watch collector. I bought many watches without doing my due diligence. Just because a watch is relatively inexpensive or available, or I had that new watch itch at the time, are no reasons to buy a watch. If your goal is to build a watch collection, which will include pieces you will actually wear, you must take your time and do your homework. The guiding principle should be quality, not quantity. I learned this the hard way, as I'm sure many of you have as well. Finally, there is the question about patience. Some watch collectors would argue that once you've done your homework, if you see a deal, you should jump on it straight away, because it won't last long. Other collectors argue that you should be patient. Take your time, do your research, negotiate your best deal, and if you cannot come to a deal to your satisfaction, then move on. That particular watch will come around again someday. If you are vigilant, you'll be made aware. How do you buy a watch? Do you follow a systematic process or just do it when the time and budget are right? I'd like to know, so comment below and share your approach. If you want to be alerted of new content when I upload it, kindly hit the subscribe button. I'd be honored if you did. I'm Art Lamberger, and this is my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.